Are virtual addresses, are they being filtered out? Are they no longer effective to use? What's happening right now with KeyBank? Now, for anybody that has done the funding play with KeyBank, and when I mean funding play, I mean the no doc play. So if you have your personal credit is on point, your business entity meets compliance, you set up everything the way it needs to be, 9 times out of 10, we'll tell you guys to go ahead and when you're incorporating and you're creating your business entity to go ahead and use a virtual address, right? To stay away from your home address when you're doing your credit card apps, when you're applying for different banks, right? This is typically how we had it set up for literally years, right? Literally years. And you can go down in the comments in any of my videos, any of the popular videos on YouTube. This is the way that people have found incredible success. Well, up until probably the last month and some change, I'm seeing there's a little bit of pushback, and I actually called 2 different bank managers at KeyBank, and they're letting me know that there are some changes with how they're processing these applications. Now, to rewind a little bit, I'm working with someone right now. Again, we got our personal credit exactly where it needs to be. Her business credit profile is exactly where it needs to be. The NAICS codes, the compliance, everything we went through with a fine-tooth comb, and we made sure both her personal and business credit profile was exactly where it needed to be, right? Now, one of the things that we noticed was when we submitted the application, the turnaround time wasn't as quick as we've kind of seen over the last several applications dealing with clients. So after some time, they came back and basically said, hey, everything is fine. They're not needing tax returns. They're not needing any additional documentation. However, they do not like seeing virtual addresses on these applications. They want to see a physical address with proof of either a lease or a utility bill, something to show that your business, you actually are doing business in this physical location. So cool, I said, all right, let me go ahead and contact the second branch, right? Let me talk to somebody else completely different. Let me see if I can verify the information. And by the way, guys, this is something that you probably want to do anytime you're trying to double check whether or not a credit union or a bank is pulling from a certain credit bureau, or if their policy is actually consistent with what you're seeing online. It's always a good idea to not only call one bank and speak to one person, but to hang up and see if you can call a different branch or see if you can call someone else and see if they can verify, right? If they can verify and basically double check on the information that you're being given. So I ended up calling the second branch and basically gave her the spiel saying, hey, we're looking to get credit cards as well as the business line of credit through you all, but I'm hearing that there is an issue with virtual addresses being used at the time of application with KeyBank. Can you let me know like what's going on? Did I mishear? Did someone misspeak? Is this an update with KeyBank that is new? Like what's basically going on? And in so many words, she basically told me, yes, KeyBank is tightening. They're tightening their guidelines. They're tightening what they are accepting. And they want to make sure that when you're submitting your application, they do not want to see a virtual address. They want to see a physical address. In fact, they would rather people use their home addresses when submitting their application. They don't want to see a virtual address on these business apps. The feeling that I was getting was that there was a large influx of people running this play, going to KeyBank, virtual offices, getting the bag, so to speak, and then running off on the plug. Now this is basically causing KeyBank to now tighten up how they're going to do their business apps going forward. But as of right now, it seems like that may be an issue. Now, typically, anytime you see a funding play that gets popular on social media, whether it be Facebook, Credit has said on more than one occasion, the moment that he puts a video up and thousands of people hit up a bank, within a matter of a couple of days, they typically are like, okay, we got to tweak something. There's too many people coming in at once. We're basically going to have to adjust how we're going to accept all these applications and whether or not we're going to keep the criteria the same as before when Credit or any one of these bigger influences gives you the play. So number one, if you guys are seeing these plays online, as always, do your due diligence. Call, double check, make sure everything is as it was when you heard it online, right? Make sure you're doing that too. Number two, the guys that are going to these banks, running off on the plug, going in here, putting in false information, getting credit cards, maxing them out, not paying them back. It's hurting the community because once the banks start seeing these things, and I forget the stats, but I know that there is an overwhelmingly large amount of fraud applications when people are going to these banks trying to get the credit cards and the BLOCs, right? Especially with these programs that are, low to no doc, where they're not asking for P&L statements, tax returns. Those type of programs People tend to run to them first. And if people are going in there with not the right intentions, it's going to mess it up for everybody else. Let me actually show you what I meant about looking up your address, right? Let me show you that first and then we can end the video. So now you guys see here, if you go to USPS.com, there's something called zip code by address, right? Look up zip code. So now typically, if you wanted to go ahead and get your business entity and you wanted to have an address that wasn't attached to your home, right? For security reasons, there's a whole bunch of reasons why you want to keep everything separate. You got your personal credit profile set up this way. Then you have your business profile, address, EIN, everything set up this way. What you can do, you can go to USPS.com. You can go ahead and search for the address. Now, again, we typically use Regis and Opus, right? And I actually use one of these random ones here. If you look here where it says commercial mail receiving agency, if you ever want to get a virtual office, a lot of the cheaper ones, a lot of the ones that people try to tell you to avoid, to stay clear from, they're usually a lot cheaper. So you can probably get those for like $20, $30 a month. The reason why we don't like those is because of this main reason. Right, commercial mail receiving agency. Typically, these banks and their software, they know the difference between a real life legitimate office building that someone's working out of and one of these cheap office buildings where no one's really doing real business out of. It's just an office space where everyone's putting their address and the person that owns that building, they just forward the mail over to you. And it's basically just like a mail forwarding building. It's not really like a real commercial office. If you ever look up an address and it has a Y here instead of a no, instead of an N, don't get that. Now, I'm thinking in my head when KeyBank came back to us and said that there was an issue with the address, in my mind, I'm thinking, is it possible that we may have used the wrong address? But went back, double checked. And this is not the same one. I'm just giving you guys an example. But the commercial mail address was no, it was an N, right? So this is what we want to see. So now typically when you guys are doing that with other banks, when you're setting up your entity, make sure you're getting an address that has an N under a commercial mail receiving agency. And initially that's what I thought was the issue with KeyBank, but that wasn't the case. It wasn't the mail receiving agency. It wasn't anything like that. They specifically told me because of the applications that were being submitted, KeyBank is now tightening up how they're receiving applications going forward. But now I think for this one, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, if you've done an application within the last few weeks, not like 6 months ago, but literally in the last few weeks, if you went ahead and submitted your application and everything went through, you were using a virtual office, specifically Regis and Opus, please go down in the comments, give me your thoughts. Let me know what the relationship banker basically told you, if there were any issues, if there were any documentation that you had to provide. But as of today, guys, they are not a fan of the Regis Opus virtual offices, and they're still submitting the applications, but they're submitting the application with the applicant's home address on the application. And that's not something that I've seen a lot of. And I wonder whether or not this is going to be adopted by other banks or whether or not this is just a KeyBank issue because of the amount of applications that were being sent to KeyBank. So basically that is the gist of this video. Guys, if you're trying to run the KeyBank play, I'm not saying that they changed all of their guidelines that they did before. It's still no doc. They're still not asking for tax returns. And the business address that's being used possibly may be an issue going forward. And I do not know whether or not that's going to be a KeyBank issue or if other institutions are going to basically adopt this as they tighten up the guidelines and they tighten up how they're going to approve applicants going forward. Anybody that has done an application within the last couple of weeks, please go down in the comments. Let us know some of your data points. Let us know if any of the bankers have given you this information or if they've thrown a wrench into your applications by asking any additional information that previously wasn't asked for before. Let us know. We can all learn from it. Guys, things are changing. Things are changing quickly. Just because you see something online, number one, doesn't mean that it's always accurate. And number two, it might have been accurate at the time of recording. These bankers, they're understanding what's going on with YouTube, social media. They understand when someone big like a credit plug drops a video, thousands of people are going to be hitting the submit button at the same time, and they're going to adjust. So just keep that in the back of your head. And as always, the people that are trying to, finesse, get the bag, run off on the plug, by doing that, that's another reason why these companies are now seeing that and saying, okay, we got to restrict it. We got to ask for maybe different information, or we may have to ask for more information. It's going to be a constant ebb and flow. We just got to adapt, right? So this is just an update video. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed. You got something out of it. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.